Hey, Doug, we're glad to have you on the Income School YouTube channel. We are really anxious to dig into your website that you have bought and now sold. So tell us first just a little bit about who you are.
Sure. I'm Doug Cunnington, and I blog at Niche Site Project. And I'll just give you a full rundown of how I got into internet marketing. But I was, had a terrible, management consulting corporate job. I was a project manager for a software company. And just one day I found smart passive income. Just randomly, I wasn't into business or entrepreneurship. And then I heard you could make money online, which was crazy. So fast forward like 6 weeks or so, I launched a site and, I did everything wrong, like bad keyword research. I think I bought links on Fiverr, which was really sad when, the site got penalized and all that. But eventually I put together sort of a site that was going to eventually make some good money with Amazon affiliate stuff. So at that point, I just loved it. I got completely obsessed with niche sites and dove in. I've been working on niche sites for about 4 years now.
Awesome. So, so this is the site that you sold?
Actually, so the site that I sold was, let's see, let me think when we actually put it together. So I had a business partner, and he started it in 2014, and then I joined up with him in 2016. So just trying to get the timing right for you. So it was about a year and a half old by the time I joined up, and it was actually making very good money, about 5 to 6K for several months, and then it was moved up in the rankings, and it hit like 10K per month when I joined up. To give you a little background on it, and we can dig into it more if we need to, but it was a site that had gray hat private blog network links, and I'm a specialist in guest posting and getting good white hat links that Google appreciates. So it was a good marriage to me and my partner to work on that site together, where I could clean it up, and then we could sell it in the future. So that's how it all came together.
So when you started working on this website, you came into it in the end. What does the day-to-day work look like on a website like that that's already existing, already has income?
Sure. It was minimal. I mean, at the point where I joined up, it was probably 1 hour per week or so. It was a relatively small site, about 40 to 45 posts or so, and it was ranking number one for a very high volume term. I can't reveal any of the stuff because we sold the site, so out of respect to the the new owner, I can't reveal anything about it. So it was a relatively small site, and it already had a lot of backlinks. It had a lot of content, though the content wasn't very good. So there really wasn't much work to it, and it was making 5 figures a month.
Okay. And how did you sell it? Did you sell it through a broker or just individually?
We sold it through a broker, Empire Flippers. So good guys.
Oh, okay.
Yep, they are.
Yeah, I also sold a site through Empire Flippers, and it was mostly a good experience. Ricky and I came close to selling one through Empire Flippers. Yeah, boy, when they take the 15% though, it really hurts.
Yeah, it sure does. It sure does. Yep. Especially when it sells fast. You're like, did you guys do any work even? But I mean, I guess it's what you're paying for. They have a pool of buyers that want to buy it.
So tell us what it is when you're working on a new website. If you're starting a brand new website today, tell us how you're coming up with that niche, first of all.
So there's a lot of ways to do it. Probably the easiest way is to head over to Amazon. I'm doing Amazon sites, so I could just tell people start at the source, go to Amazon, and just start browsing products and categories. You probably want to aim for something that you're kind of interested in, so that you can produce content that doesn't drive you crazy. You don't want to write about something super boring that you're not interested in, then it'll just be a drag the whole time. But I would say if you just start browsing the different products that are out there and go deeper and deeper into subcategories, you'll find, products that, maybe are off the radar. Maybe there's less competition. That's kind of the stuff that I look for, so that you like have the ability to, publish content without like having to do a ton of link building. So
when you have a website, you built it up, the example of the one that you sold, what's the decision-making process? What makes you decide to sell a website versus just keep that passive income for months, years to come?
Sure. So generally, I do keep the sites for the revenue that it brings in. I think, we all have an approach where we're not creating like risky backlinks and there's some longevity. We put a lot of time into it. So I don't want to just like sell that. However, in this case, there were a couple things in play. So it was a site that was making a lot of money, and I had the opportunity to, come and work on a project where like my specialty really helped out. So, in that way, it was interesting. Just from a marketing perspective, it was a cool project. So I like worked on the white hat guest post, and I was able to write about that on Niche Site Project as an interesting case study. And the whole goal the entire time was to sell it. And he and I don't know if we mentioned how much we sold it for. It was $235,000. So neither one of us had been part of a transaction that big, except for like when I bought a house or something like that. And even then, it wasn't that much. So it's just an interesting business transaction. And we are like a couple normal dudes that never thought we'd be selling like a business and an asset worth multi-six figures. And guess what? It was only like 2.5 years old when we sold it. So like we created this thing that was so valuable that like, someone with that much money bought it. So
very cool. So you sell the site, and what do you do with the money? Do you hire more writers? Do you put that in savings? What were you going to do with the money that made it give you the motivation to sell?
Basically I just saved it, put it into the war chest. My wife and I are like super conservative fiscally. So we just have we save like crazy. So, at some point, and I haven't mentioned this in any point, but like potentially we could retire like very young. So that's always on the horizon. And like I said, like we just save a ton of money. At some point, I have thought about deploying that back out in, next year when I have more time to maybe buy an established site that already has like a good foundation where I could come in and scale it, because I could build teams and like put out tons of content if I want to, because I can, build a team of 10 writers with a couple content managers and just publish a ton of content. So, but I didn't have any great plans other than, hey, that'll be cool to sell it. And then, we didn't need the money specifically for anything. So.
Awesome. So you mentioned hiring a team of writers. How much content, when you're creating new websites, how much content do you outsource to other writers, and how do you do that? Do you buy content from, there's some of these content mills that will give you a project manager and just sell you 100 articles, or do you prefer to hire a writer that you work with regularly? What's your approach to that?
So I usually go to Upwork. I found the services that will manage things for you. Like the writers aren't that good, and there's a lot of overhead with their management that they give you. So I feel like a lot of the payment goes to the management section, the admin. So in my previous job as a project manager, I hired a bunch of people, put teams together, onboarded. So it was sort of natural for me to be able to go hire people on Upwork, and I'm paying roughly, just to give people a rough idea, I'm paying about $14 to $16 for about 1,000 words, and I will hire people that are new on Upwork that want to get reviews. So they'll work for a little bit cheaper, even though they may be a little overqualified. And I've usually I end up with some sort of like professional writer. Maybe they had a journalistic background. Maybe they, were an English major, and 100% of the time they're a better writer than me. So I'll just like, they're good at it. It's what they do, and it's easier for them to write it. And they do it faster. So it's a pretty good value on my end.
Yeah, it's pretty similar for us. We do 2 cents a word for our articles. So a 2,500 word article is $50.
Yeah.
So pretty similar. So you have these writers long term then? Like they'll keep writing, and how often do they write?
So I usually do like sprints of work. I just work better that way. I found that if I tried to have someone on retainer in any fashion, like a VA or anything, it stresses me out because I'm like, I have to give them work. So I'll hire people more on a project basis, and I, keep the chunks of writing small. So even if I do work with someone for, say, 10 weeks or something, it's more like, 5 articles at a time. And most people, they actually like that because it gives them flexibility. They're not like locked into some long-term contract. It's just like, hey, we're doing 5 more. We're doing 5 more over and over again. There is overhead with like creating the new gigs in Upwork, but it's pretty fast. You can just, keep creating new milestones. If people are unfamiliar, you can just set it up so that, each block of work is done, but that way it's flexible for me. If something changes, or I don't want to have them write for me anymore, we can just end it, and I prefer to have it that way.
Cool.
And how are the titles or the headlines or the topics for the articles found? Are you doing that?
Either I'm doing it, or someone who I trained on like keyword research is doing it. So usually the keyword research, like yields the title, and then I could just provide the title to the writers, along with, a 1-pager of instructions on, how to write, how to format it. And when I first hire someone, I do work with them. I want them to give me feedback, and I want to give them feedback so that, they're writing well, how I want them to. And then, at that point, the title is static, and then based on the keyword rather. And then I usually have an editor or a content manager that will, do the copy editing, and they'll also format this stuff for me in WordPress. And at that point, I just have to go, they draft it, and then I just go in, take a quick look at it, and then I can hit publish. So the content editor does all the formatting, the subheadings, and it's always they're not SEO trained, right? I don't want them to be, because SEOs do crazy stuff. So I just tell them, have the reader in mind, and then you end up with good results. So
I like it. So you mentioned for your content generation, you kind of take that project management approach. I know you have a strong project management background. How does that background come into play in the rest of your niche website building and the life cycle of the website?
Sure. I think it's all about like systems and organization. So it's like, if you're going to do anything more than once, you probably should have some framework around it. So, a good example is, hiring on Upwork, and then the templates for writing and that sort of thing. Like I have the same like job posting that I could just change like 2 words, and then I could reuse it over and over again and over and over again, and give it to other people to use it too. And it's just really easy to reuse a template. Now, I know that some of my friends in like my mastermind group back in the day, like until I talked to them, they weren't using templates. Like every time they hired someone, they created like a new job posting and customized it. And it was costing them tons of time, and it prevented them from like hiring people because it just slowed them down so much. Now, when you look at the actual content, I mean, I have the perfect Amazon review like template, which I'll give to people if they want it. It's freely available. And it's just, here's a section here to put the intro, put a table, some images, and it's modular, it's customizable, and I can give that to the writers so they can see like what we're trying to do. And, it's a paint by numbers situation. So as long as they could write, they could fill that in. So I think templates, and then the idea that if you want to, repeat something, you should make it, I guess, easy to follow and provide instructions for, like I said, I hire people on an ad hoc freelance basis. So training needs to be like fairly simple so that I can interchange people freelancers come and go. That's part of the reason they like to do it. Every now and then someone just disappears. So you need to be able to replace them without like bringing the business to a halt.
What would you say is most unique about your approach to creating blogs or online businesses? What do you feel like you do is different or is your special sauce?
I think, well, I'm going to lean on the last question and say the project management area. So I have like the project management professional certification, which it's a pretty big deal just in general. It's a multi-$100 test. You have to have like thousands of hours of experience, and a lot of people are project managers. But to get the certification is like a level of mastery, and I've done it for many years. So, again, from a marketing perspective, I love the fact that I can lean on that because there's not that many people that are PMPs that find themselves in internet marketing. So the organization and framework that I could put around like every step of the process is like hugely valuable. I mean, I only gave a couple examples, but I mean, it goes for, niche selection, keyword research, and, hiring people, growing your team, scaling. When we look at link building, I can give someone a template with like, 20 columns and it walks them all the way through the process. You can even like hire a VA that's like a general admin and they can do it. Like it's very simple because like I trained tons of people. I ran projects where like the team was changing all the time. There's always some sort of like churn in the old world that I, worked like the corporate software gig. So does that answer the question? I kind of went all around there.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it was awesome to have you on, Doug, and to learn a little bit from your process and how you're doing things. How can people find you online?
So 2 ways, nichesiteproject.com. And if you head over there, I give out tons of keywords. So just for free, like you guys, I give out a lot of stuff for free because, it's really all about the execution. So you can get tons of keywords there. And then on YouTube, I won't try and read out the whole URL, but hopefully we could put a link below. And I have tons of videos. I do, niche site teardowns. There are, a bunch of like live training videos. So I encourage people to check that out.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on with us.
Thank you. Really appreciate it, guys.